I did construction for years. I sold diesel trucks for years. I am the definition of a versatile girl. My name is Jacqui. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm feeling good today. Feeling happy.
Fabulous. All right, let's get into it. So, think big. How would you define your gender, and what experiences brought you here?
That is big. My gender, I would say that I fall between masculine and feminine. Obviously, very far toward the feminine side, but I I would say I tend to like to mix things up some. So, what was the rest of the question?
And what kind of experiences brought you there?
Oh, a lot of experiences. So I first of all I came out as gay, and I've discovered that gay people, the gay community, gay does not define me very well at all, and the gay community, gay people don't have a lot of time. For people like me, sometimes I started wearing makeup right away as soon as I started going to the bar and the clubs. And I was like shocked that people had words and weird looks and strange things to say about that, because I was like, isn't that what you all do? And it was shocking. And then also coming from where I come from, anybody who's gay is already feminine. And so I was like, what's this thing about not liking feminine expression? Anyway, eventually I came to realize I went through non-binary, which I still would say that I have a healthy streak of that in me. So I wouldn't say, I say trans woman because it works. It's neat. It's neatly packaged for consuming by the larger populace, but I wouldn't say that it is everything for me. So maybe that kind of answers the question.
You mentioned talking a bit about where you were from and sort of how femininity ties into that. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So I grew up, I say Amish because that's the easy thing to say, but I grew up Mennonite. They are the group that Amish originally came from, but I grew up in a very conservative Mennonite group, which if anybody saw them on the street, they'd say, oh, Amish. In fact, that happened a lot. Dressed differently. The women in that society were it was very misogynistic. They were second-rate citizens. They didn't vote in church decisions. They didn't have any say. And they were given very strict roles, both genders were. And the two genders were. And the men were providers, the women were housewives. The women weren't permitted to work. My mom, she will probably hate herself for the rest of her life for saying this, but she always used to say to me, "You're my youngest daughter." And I was always like, yeah, I am. Now I'm sure she's like, please say that it wasn't my fault. Anyway, but she always said I was her youngest daughter because I helped her clean, cook, garden. That was what I loved to do. So, but I mean, they tried. They gave me tools for my birthday, for every birthday that I ever remember. There was a wrench or something, and I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this?
How would you start to define gender?
So I've thought a lot about this. I think that gender is a very personal thing. I believe in personal gender. I think that gender is a way that we use to divide people into categories that we can therefore make assumptions about them based on those things. And therefore, it's not valid. And yet, we have to admit that that's how the world works. And so, I want to be seen as a woman. That's my gender. I want to be, let's say it this way, I want to be addressed with words that are used for women typically. Therefore, there are some things that I feel like I need to do because they will um, help people to naturally give me those words that I would like to have used for me. So, but other than that, there is that question like we should do away with gender. I agree, but I don't think we will ever. I certainly don't think soon. And because of that, I think we all find our way to work within the structure that we're given. But I do think that gender is intensely personal, and that even people who say there's 100 genders, somebody was saying that recently. I love it, but at the same time, I say no. There's as many genders as there are people. You express yourself how you do. It's just an expression, and I would love to see people have the freedom to express however they want without feeling that they need to define it in one way or another. And part of that is, here are my words. Here are the words that you use for me, just like a name.
What are some experiences, some things that you do for yourself, other things that other people do, that make you feel gender euphoric? What brings you that sort of gender-based joy?
Well, it could go so many different ways, but I things that make it easy for people to address me with feminine words, as if they exist at all. Um, those things make me feel happy because I know that I will be seen that way. As far as relating to other people, um, being treated as a woman, being seen as a woman, being dated as a woman, being approached as a woman. And that's, again, is so is so fluid. We really can't pin that down. But when I know that another person sees me as such, that's very helpful. It's very euphoric. Um, as far as myself personally, seeing the facial hair go away, that's gender euphoria. Feeling things blow against my legs in the wind, like wearing something flowy, that's gender euphoria. Um, Actually being able to finally have my hair long enough that I can feel my hair, that's gender euphoria. I grew up, again, having to keep my hair within an inch or shorter, and I never knew I had curly hair until I was 26. Don't ask how old I am. And I finally, now I have curly hair and it's long and I can feel it move. That's gender euphoria.
What would you tell someone who's thinking about their own gender for the first time?
I would say ditch the labels. Just go with what feels good to you. I mean, men come into the shop where I work, where I do nails, and they're like, I mean, I want to get color, but on my toes or my fingers, but and people are going to think I'm gay. People are going to think this. No. That's ridiculous. I understand that that's how the world works, but it's ridiculous. Can we just acknowledge that as a fallacy? And do you. Just do the thing that makes you happy. Forget about whether or not it falls into a gender, because again, genders are in my opinion, anything other than personal gender is a way to control large groups of people by thinking we know them, making assumptions about them, and therefore not having to learn to know them personally.
Bonus question. Looking right here.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to speak to all of the trans youth of the world and give them one sentence. What is your gift to them this Pride Month?
I am so bad at one sentences. There are no requirements to be a woman or a man or any other thing. You just be you.